All right, greetings. Welcome back to Blackburn News, where everything is connected. How are you all doing? Let me straighten this out. What's going on? Good to see you all here. Thanks for hanging out today. I appreciate it. What's up, Rockfinners? We are live on Rockfin. Hello. How are you? We're live on YouTube. Hello. How are you? Yes. Power to the French people, indeed. Indeed. They seem to be upset about something. And they're like a Western nation that with a pretty comfortable standard of living. They have pensions and vacations, but they're not too comfortable to get out there and mix it up. Nadia, I would have to agree with you that the only problem with storming the BlackRock HQ is that they didn't capture any of the billionaires who own it. But should be a bit of a cue to the people that do run it that things might actually not go the way that you think they're going to go. I don't know. First of all, let's cover this though, because this is interesting to me. You may think, well, this is ridiculous and don't even try. Yeah, we'll tell that to the people of France. Don't even try. I don't know why you're out there. That's what they want you to do. Something. Don't take the bait. That's what they want you to do. Okay. Sorry. Don't mean to be showing that part. Yeah. Anyways, it's official. RFK Jr. is running for president. I think this is awesome. I think it's awesome. I think it's great. Yeah, I know. We have a lot of... He's running as a Democrat. You know, problem number one. Big problem. But I think this is a nice wrinkle in the news landscape. It's just some sign of hope that somebody wants to get in there and mix it up. And you could say, well, look at all the other progressives and look at Bernie and how they ran in the Democratic Party, or they got in there and then they got changed somehow. Yeah, maybe their intention was to do something and they got somebody got to them. I don't know. Maybe their plan was to mix it up or change things, and then they decided they wanted to keep their jobs and that it's very comfortable living. I don't know. Or maybe their intention was bad from the beginning. I don't know. I know. Well, we're going to talk about that too. The smears or schmears are coming out. Jazz Farm, you think he's just another future sellout? Maybe. He might be. That's the thing. I don't know. I can't call it. I appreciate that he's trying. He is historically an environmental lawyer. He's an environmentalist. So, I don't really know. I don't know what his deep stances are on climate change, like what he thinks should happen or what we should be doing, or if, we should all just be going green energy and that's how we're going to fix it. I don't know. I don't really know. I don't know what his overall take is on that. But it's he's an interesting figure because yes. Yeah, he has a good grasp of what the deep state has been doing, encouraging all these wars. He's an interesting figure because he's an environmentalist, historically, classically, an environmentalist lawyer. He's been speaking out against, GMOs, right? Big food, big ag, Monsanto, Bayer, all these people that are poisoning your food and poisoning the water. He cares about the planet. And he's telling the truth about vaccines and about Dr. Fauci. He could, maybe he's going to sell out. Maybe he's going to sell out, maybe not. But he knows who the problem people are. He understands what the problem is. He understands who it is that you should be fighting. And the interesting thing about him is he crosses this conversational and ideological divide. Basil Peterson, a ham sandwich would be an improvement over our current president. Yes, he bridges the gap, the ideological gap, and that's what's interesting about him is that. You know what I didn't? He did do a pretty good interview with Jimmy Dore, and Jimmy Dore told him not to run for president, which is okay. Again, tell the people of France to go home. What are you guys doing? You're not going to change anything. I mean, you may think that maybe that their form of protest might be better than voting. Okay, I'll go with you on that one. I'll go with you on that one. But can we stop? Can we stop with the no, don't even try, man. Just stay at home and let it all happen to you. I was just listening to someone talking about, someone in the truth community talking about the end goal of, the mustache twirlers or, whatever. The end goal of the machinations of the global, the elitists. The end goal is apathy. Apathy. So I reject. When you're listening to some truther telling you, yeah, or anybody, no, don't go vote, don't care, don't try it. It's all a dead end. Don't go protest. That's what Don't rabble rouse. Don't get angry. Don't do anything. That's what they want you to do. It's a trap. It's all a trap. It's all wrong. Reject that bullshit, because that's what it is. Is bullshit. You know that it's bullshit. I mean, Jazz Farm. I hear you, but all I hear is people talking. Even Chris Hedges, even Jimmy Dore, even me. All I hear is people fucking talking. And, RFK Jr. is trying to get out there and put up a fight. And Steve Kirsch seems to think it's a good idea. Steve Kirsch is going out there and putting himself and his reputation and his career on the line. I want to hear people stop talking and stop telling you that, it's a trap, and then, no, it's not going to work. I don't know. I think Jimmy Dore rides the fence, honestly. He says he says that electoral politics are bad. But then he does, suggest that we go out and do things, And he did say to RFK, he was like, he said two things. He said, why are you doing this? what's the point? It's not going to work. And then he said, if you need any help, we'll help you. So he's, Jimmy Dore's riding the fence on whether doing something is a good idea or not. So I don't know. I just I find this an interesting news story, and I find it actually somewhat refreshing and hopeful. I don't know. Call me an idiot. I don't know. Call me what you will. But Jake Tapper went right after him horrifically. I mean, this is the other thing too, is people really do. People really do understand how ridiculous like the mainstream news has gotten and the coverage has gotten. And it has gotten ridiculous. When I saw this Jake Tapper clip, by the way, Jazz Farm, I'm I hear what you're saying, man. I wasn't really like necessarily cussing at you. I'm just Jazz Farm says I am in the camp of creating a parallel society as I sit here starting 500 onions. Good for you, man. Good job. Yeah, I mean, no, I think that's, and I mean that sincerely. Everybody should be doing what they can on a personal level, on a community level, or right. If that's your form of protest, if is getting off the grid or getting out of the supply chain, then more power to you. I think we need more people doing that. Yes, Gene, I have learned to believe nothing that the media says and go back and relook at all of my assumptions. Good, that is exactly how you should always be skeptical of everything they have to tell you. Always, always, always be skeptical. So I think people are waking up. And here's the thing. There was something I had, and it has to do with vaccines or vaccine injuries, that shows that people are aware of what was going on, right? I didn't have a chance to show it the other day, but there was a bipartisan poll. I mean, bipartisan poll, I don't know. There was a poll done by Rasmussen, and the results were that people felt that the vaccines had led to injuries, and it was bipartisan, right? It was almost equal Democrat and Republican. So both sides are seeing that there's an issue here, and that is what makes RFK Jr. so interesting, right? Because his book is amazing. He told the truth about what's going on. He's uncovering the lies. He's telling the truth about the vaccines and what's going on. And there's a bipartisan understanding that like we have been misled on this issue. So he will touch a nerve. He will touch a vein that a lot of people they're going so hard at him. This sounds like a movie clip, right? Because it's almost unbelievable how stupid this sounds. It sounds like a clip from like The Joker. Right? If you're watching a TV show or a movie and they have some, newscaster on and the newscaster is just saying something like completely outlandish. Batman is on the loose. We need to get him. Police want information about Batman, right? Something like that. Anyways, he just goes straight at him. Anti-vaccine quack. He calls him an anti-vaccine quack. He is not an anti-vaccine quack. He's a truth teller about the vaccines. And the more the media, the media runs the risk of becoming, I mean, they're hardly believable as it is, right? And they run the risk of just making themselves even more I don't know, a non-entity, if you will. But let's listen to this. It's fairly amazing.
This just into CNN. Anti-vaccine quack Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has filed paperwork with the Federal Election Commission to run for president as a Democrat. In launching his presidential bid, Kennedy is the latest in a long line of family members to enter politics. So far, only Marianne Williamson, who last month launched her second long-shot campaign, is into the Democratic primary against Biden. Kennedy is such a healthcare menace. In 2019, even his cousins wrote an op-ed criticizing his anti-science views on life-saving vaccines. Coming up next,
an anti-healthcare menace. I mean, I don't even know where to begin with that. But, almost everything he said in there was, reverse it, right? Switch it, reverse it. He's not anti-science. He's actually pro-science. He's actually showing you, what scientism or what science for profit is doing to people. Uncovering what science for profit is doing to people. And that was a big bucket of lunacy right there. But they're going to do that. He threw his hat into the ring, and wham! That's what you get. You get a just immediate kick to the face. That's how they're gonna treat him. That's how they're gonna do him. But I do think there are some things that he has going for him, which is obviously he has name brand recognition. He's very popular. Everybody knows who he is. His book was a bestseller, so that tells me a lot of people read his book, and I bet you it wasn't just one side of the. I bet you the readers of his book weren't all, Trump supporters. So come on now. Yeah, but you got to, you can't. True. That's why Jimmy Dore advised him against it, the smear campaigns. But you have to expect that. If you're gonna fight, you're gonna get hit. So you can't say don't put up a fight because you might get hit. That's what's gonna happen. You're gonna get hit. And if history shows us that a fight is necessary, you either decide to fight or you decide not to. And if you're afraid of getting hit, I don't know what to tell you. Anyways, Matt Orfala. There's so much more to RFK Jr. than vax criticism, but all the media just repeats his anti-vax RFK Jr. They're out to sink him. I really want to see him in the debates. Remember that they were saying that they're going to cancel any debates. RFK Jr. actually wrote that story. He actually wrote that story for Children's Health Defense, that they were going to cancel the Democratic debates, but I don't see how you. I heard an interesting take on you could say the elections are all rigged and whatnot, and I think there's a fair bit of manipulation going on in elections. But why would they go so if they didn't fear somebody actually sneaking in there, or if they didn't fear him as an adversary, why would they go to such lengths to smear him? I don't know. Remember when they ignored Bernie Sanders? As a tactic, it was one of their tactics was just to ignore him, not even talk about him as a person that was in the race. I mean, they actually probably did themselves in by even acknowledging it. Maybe maybe they should have just went with the silent treatment. I don't know. Anyways, RFK Jr. is actually an environmental activist. He's been fighting for clean rivers for decades. I saw him speak on the subject 20 years ago in Buffalo. vaccines didn't come up once in his speech. He's got my vote. So, I mean, I think they are afraid. They are very, very afraid. Because of the name brand recognition, because of the fact that he actually does straddle ideological silos. They're really, they need to like do something extreme to get him out of there. If that's their goal. Anyways, Associated Press calling him an anti-vaccine activist. Anyways, their stuff is checkmate. I don't know. Extra Bullet says, I wish RFK Jr. would run as an independent because the Dem base is so brainwashed they will do as they are told, just like they did when they screwed Bernie in 2020. Maybe, yeah. I do actually find it. Yeah, I find a little unfortunate that he's not running as an independent because he could probably do better. And the two-party system needs to be squashed anyways. So if you have that kind of clout, why not run as an independent? You'd have a better chance of possibly winning and also, mucking up the whole two-party thing anyways. All right. Real quick, a great way to support the show is Black Bear. Buy me a coffee. Sorry. buymeacoffee.com/blackbearnews. Rockfin tips also greatly appreciated. Super chats greatly appreciated. And Venmo and Cash App links are in the description box. All right. Jem Bendel is actually tweeting something towards why can't I think of his name? Russell Brand. He said, your 6 million awakening wonders will be interested if you make it interesting. So he's tweeting something about, the number of environmentalists in other parts of the world who have been killed in the last decade. Again, to all the people that are like, oh, climate change isn't a thing. I don't know. You want to tell that to all the people that are trying to save forests and indigenous lands across the world who are being murdered for their activism? Anyways, let's play this real quick. Sorry, I forgot this was Spanish. Anyways, at least 1,733 environmental defenders were murdered over the last decade. Too often there's no justice at all for families of indigenous leaders that are killed. In Peru, justice looks like 28 years in prison for the 5 perpetrators. Sometimes there's justice. Remember, Steve Donziger got put under house arrest and was stripped of his license for winning a court case against Exxon. And yes, in Paris, protesters took over BlackRock headquarters. And I like what Perpetual Shadowban says about this. This is how you put aside whatever differences you have and come together for the greater good. We could do this anytime we want, but we're too busy tearing each other down over the stupidest shit in the history of arguments. Yeah. Yep. But go France and go French people. But right, I mean, I think we need to. I think we need to. Yeah. Um, I think we need to put aside our differences and do something. In the end, it's the same answer, right? We know who the crooks are. We know, that the people in charge don't want any accountability. They want all the accountability for you and none for themselves. Yeah, global solidarity. So men wearing makeup is not an important issue. Not really. No. That's pretty great, though. Some more scenes from France. Yellow vest still prominent, a prominent feature there. That's amazing. Hells yeah. Anyways, this is pretty great. It's pretty great. French protesters briefly infiltrated BlackRock's Paris headquarters. A few dozen trade unionists invaded trade unions. What are those? Invaded the U.S.-based investment firm's offices, raising their voices against President Emmanuel Macron's pension changes. It's not what it's all about, by the way. It's not the only thing it's about, by the way. That's what they're allowed to tell you. Anyways, the government is, they're making it all about the pension reforms, but that's not what it's all about. They were telling Xi what to do, Macron and van der Leyen. Yeah, well, I mean, we'll see where this goes. Hopefully, it leads to something. Or at least lets those in charge know, at least that you're pissed off. The dogs of Chernobyl are experiencing rapid evolution, study suggests. Did you all hear about this? Yeah, but didn't Macron, he passed that law or pushed through that law without parliamentarian input. What's up, Rock Finners? How you doing? Y'all hanging out? Drop a comment if you're feeling like it. Rockfin is where you can watch the show ad free. We're also live on Callin too. I don't know. Well, that's the thing is I don't know. Yeah, it must. Jazz Farm. Yeah, I mean, there's several issues that they're upset about, and they've been, they're upset about just corruption in general, neoliberalism, involvement in the Ukraine war, NATO involvement. There are a lot of issues that are climate issues are actually in there too. Oh, okay, Gene, I misunderstood. But yeah, you can watch the show ad free on Rockfin if you want to skip the ads. All right. I will check in with the Rockfinners in a few. The dogs of Chernobyl are experiencing rapid evolution. I actually just wanted to this is interesting because they're saying that their DNA has been altered and that their DNA is very different from dogs that don't live. They studied feral dogs. But what was interesting is this sentence here. Animals of all kinds have thrived in humanity's absence. Living among radiation-resistant fauna are thousands of feral dogs, many of whom are descendants of pets left behind in the speedy evacuation of the area so many years ago. I mean, sure, of course, you're going to, with higher radiation over time, you're going to probably see that there are some kind of health impacts on the animals there. But the main takeaway that I think everybody misses about Chernobyl is that there's an exclusion zone and that wildlife is thriving. Animals are why? Because we're not there. We're not there. I'm not saying this is not an opportunity to be like, who are you going to kill first? It's anti-human. Oh, you hate human. Oh, it's not an opportunity for that. What I'm saying is, I actually heard another someone I was listening to, podcast I was listening to, saying that they're trying to rewild the planet, and that's some kind of anti-human Club of Rome conspiracy. What rewild? Keeping the planet green, conserving the planet, allowing wildlife to have its own space is anti-human. And God just doesn't like that. Or if you believe in God, that's that should sound weird to you. Okay. Not actually, no. How about if I believe that God is nature? And if God is nature, then nature surely loves that idea. Nature also really likes balance, by the way. If you're a fan of science on any level, nature does love some balance. And when things are out of balance, nature has a way of putting things back into balance on some level. Anyways, I thought that was the most interesting part of that article. And I'll bring it up again and again. Poppy sent this to me from Steve Austin, Bionic Man. Say it with me. EVs are in no way, shape, or form a climate solution. We are only wasting time and resources trying to keep this current thing going. Real climate solutions are radical departures from everything. I wonder, I am really curious. I'm really curious what RFK Jr.'s take is on real climate solutions. It'd be unfortunate if he became president and was like, well, we're going to start installing windmills and solar farms everywhere. Going to give you some tax rebates for some electric car buying and some efficient stoves. That would kind of suck. Gene, I met a small group of vegans online who think we should kill off predators because they hurt the herbivore. Okay. I don't know. There's a kook faction for everyone out there, right? Obviously I'm in a kook faction. We're all in a kook faction. All of us here are just a bunch of kooks. You know, who I don't know, who believe in a particular thing. Kook, what's the kook factor? I mean, I don't know about killing off predators. When Gene says when he presents his platform, I hope you cover it. I don't know. Well, I mean, and I'm not trying to deride. I think it's a little weird. Kill off predators because they hurt the herbivore. I don't know. Yeah, obviously it's a little weird. Right. Anyways, everybody belongs to a kook. Some kind of has some kind of kook factor, but I'm not really super anti. I don't, I've said before I thought that if there was the only way that humans would actually like go for some kind of rally against climate change would be if it was presented as a spiritual thing. If you could get people to believe in it on a religious level, you'd probably have a better chance of getting a bunch of people involved. And if you, what am I trying to say? As opposed to couching it in science. But all that being said, I hope that I don't know. I hope all the Christian, I hope all the Christian people out there who think that rewilding the planet or what was it? Somebody just said something just wild. I was like listening to some show. It's an all right show. But then they just started talking about how rewilding was anti-human and stuff, and this one girl was like, well, God said we're supposed to be fruitful and multiply. I was like, all right, well there's your first problem. I don't know. Somewhere in the middle again. I don't know. No problems if you believe in religion. Go for it, but listen, man. There's, science has proved a lot of things in that religious text pretty wrong. And some pretty awful things have been done in the name of that religious text. Some pretty horrible, dumb as rocks things have been done in the name of that religious text. So I just temper that. Hold that in your mind when you're in your buggy with your horses going to church. Hold that in your mind. That's some pretty absolutely disgusting things have been done in the name of that religious text. But every time somebody walks into church, they're like, yeah, well, I'm different. This time it's different. I'm not saying that churches can't be great places for people to meet, that they can't do good things, that they can't inspire people to do good things. I think, and I think whoever the person was that, was Jesus or was Jesus was modeled on, is a pretty interesting character. Right? So there are some takeaways that are positive, but maybe not everything. Reflect the Sun says we have a neighbor who 2 blocks away who rewilded his yard and has a Ukraine flag. Exactly. I mean, you got to have some kook factor somewhere. Rewilding, awesome. Ukraine flag, not so much. I don't know. I guess you got to, whenever you come across somebody new in your life, you got to be like, well, this person seems pretty cool. Where's the kook at? Because the kook is in there somewhere. I don't know. Churches are communist. Hold on. Oh, sorry, William. I saw you there. I did see you there. I apologize. Wait. Dickie Lee asks, is this news from the perspective of a bear? It could be. I mean, always consider this news from a perspective of a bear. Or WWBD. What would bear do? What would bear do? Obsolete Optics says, remember when the Panama Papers came out and nobody did anything about the information contained in them? No, they didn't. They just went, oh, that sounds bad. William, how you doing? Give me 1 second. I'm going to take your call. All right, I think you're on.
Are you ready, brother?
Yep.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
All right. Well, good. Regarding that Chernobyl article with the dogs, that's my recollection. I think the dog's average life span was 2 to 3 years. What they died from, I didn't read in the article whether it was just, but they had people in the area feeding them. That's how they got some of their food. But it didn't really touch on what type of cancers or any type of metastasizing growths or anything you might expect. I didn't catch that in the article unless I missed something. How about you? Did you?
I didn't see that either, and I didn't really see. I mean, I didn't really see any concrete evidence of anything in this article. They just kept saying like, well, they feel like they're, what'd they say here?
Are they trying to normalize?
They were talking. They were saying how decades of radiation exposure may have altered the animals' genomes, and even possibly sped up evolution. And they related it to how we radiate seeds to get genetic mutations that might be favorable to growing food in a climate change world. I don't know.
Yeah, just eliminate the fact that the dogs have massive tumors and died of leukemias and all kinds of.
Did they say that? Really?
I don't know. That's my point. It's like, what kind of article is that? It says
it didn't say much. That's the thing. The reason why I didn't really cover the rest of the article is it didn't say much of anything. They just say this seems to imply that these dogs have undergone some type of rapid mutation or evolution due to radiation exposure. The study is only a first step in proving that hypothesis. I mean, it's all a bunch of it looks like something's different, but we don't know what, and we're not really sure, and we can't blame it on the radiation. And it was another waste of time, right? It's like scientific hemming and hawing. It's just like, oh, well, that's all very interesting then, is it?
Yeah, well, it kind of makes you wonder, But I wanted to add, going back and I always try and put corroborating, explanatory stuff in your live chat. So I'm going to skip over a couple of things. You mentioned about demoralization.
Oh,
Called 4 stages of ideological subversion. I just learned about. Have you ever heard of that?
no.
I just stumbled on it. Well, demoralization is the first step, then destabilization, then crisis, then the new quote unquote normalization. This is how in the past, or how the totalitarian regimes have changed uh, uh, societies. You see what I'm saying? Through this, this is a covert method.
Sure.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the article kind of quotes an ex-KGB agent, but I'm reading this going, well, okay, I see. It's kind of like the, what we've heard about before about the Hegelian dialect. You know what I mean by that, about
Right.
the creation, right? And so, but it goes along those lines. Interesting read. So I put it in there, and something maybe we could talk about in the future. Once you have a chance to go over it a little bit and see what you think.
Yeah.
So, but also the first person who, don't forget, it was Henry Kissinger and the CIA that started the. Well, let's see. We had the Bilderberg and now the World Economic Forum, and Kissinger's depopulization. How do you say that word? Depopular. Help me out, man. I'm having a moment.
Depopulation.
There you go. Yeah. Again, in the 94 Cairo Protocol, the meeting. Anyway, I put some links there. I'm just sitting here with a lot of time on my hands, disabled, doing all kinds of research and learning stuff.
Yeah.
I'm learning the crap I learned in grade school in front of the boob tube, and in high school, and trying to learn some more.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, anything I could
keep yourself. Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's the only way to live is keep learning.
Yeah. No. One more quick thing. Very disappointing. Well, 2. First, Norfolk Southern, it turns out, ordered the burn. There's a article, a YouTube clip that's Louis DeAngelis from Status Quo interviewing Pennsylvania State Representative Abigail Salisbury, who sat in a hearing. It's actually Norfolk Southern, not the EPA. They apparently originally they were planning to possibly vent and burn one tanker rail car. But then Norfolk overrode that, and somehow, how does that happen? How does Norfolk override who's running the show, making the decisions? You see what I mean? An interesting video there. So, and she's testifying to what she was told, the state rep from Pennsylvania, because of course it's right on the border. This incident, so it involves Pennsylvania, and so that's pretty alarming. And then the last thing, apparently the judge in the Brooke Jackson case, typical of our courts, sustained the motion to dismiss.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
Wow.
All they have arguments. That's all they got to. There was never any discovery allowed. You know what I mean? No process. No right to due process. Oh, judge makes a summary judgment, dismissal.
Yeah.
Typical, right? Yeah. Look what they did to Dosinger, like you said. You know what I mean? Freaking arrested him because he wouldn't turn over his laptop and his cell phone? Well, it was irrelevant. They already won a $9.6 billion settlement. It was just trying to help those poor people collect. We know that Chevron Texaco polluted the hell out of it, pump and dumped, and ruined the groundwater, the surface water, the fisheries, the environment. People are dying. So what do they need Dosinger's laptop and cell phone for? No, it's not even relevant. But of course, the judge, see how they work. The judge sustains the motion for the laptop and the cell phone. Dosinger says, no, I'm not going to comply. You're on a fishing expedition. It's actual legal term that's used as an affirmative defense. And the judge cites him for contempt, a quasi-criminal charge.
Yep.
You get railroaded, bro.
Yep.
So people, it's like, I tried, and listen, I know this because I went through it in Corrupticate. I fought 4 lawsuits. I faced down a lot of these dragons. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And I fought motions and arguable motions, and this is how you. They arrested me in the courthouse filling out subpoena requests. What was supposed to be a third hearing,
Yeah.
minding my own business. I mean, not even talking to anybody.
Yeah.
You know, I'm telling you, we don't realize. You don't realize. Well, first of all, think about it. We have 4.5% of the world's population, 25% of the world's incarcerated people,
Right.
roughly.
Right.
That says it all.
Yep. It does. And
94% of the people in prison never had a trial. That's true.
because they just pled.
They pled out because what happens is you
Yeah.
get so overcharged.
Oh,
and
I
they-
was yeah, I was just reading something today. A friend of mine posted on Instagram. There was a kid that got like 65 years because he fought his case because he wouldn't
Yeah.
plea. He wouldn't
Right.
plead guilty. And he's like, "No, I'm not guilty." And they tried him. So somebody was killed by a police officer who was trying to apprehend him, and they blamed the murder on the kid.
Oh my god!
And it's oh my god, it was infuriating to read. I was just like, "What?" So
Yep.
he got charged with murder because the cops murdered somebody,
Oh,
and he got
they
65. He got 65 years because he said, "No, I'm not guilty of this," and he fought his case. And they're like, "Well, because you fought your case, you're gonna get spanked,
Right,
to the
exactly.
full extent."
I'll tell you what, I've been prosecuted 4 different times. I got everyone dropped. I never took a plea bargain. But what they did was, because I wouldn't take even the nollies, and nollie contendere would, the prosecutor wants to dismiss the case, but you got no probable cause. My emails, voicemails are me outing the corruption. That's it.
Yeah.
You have nothing I've done illegal. Take those plea bargains and stick them where the sun doesn't shine, because if you get 3 in a row, back to back to back, that's the 3-strike rule. You're in jail.
Yeah. Yep.
You see what I mean?
Yep.
So it's all set up. So I was like, no. So what they did was they weaponized psychiatry. You may have heard of Dr. Bregan, how, it's a totalitarian tactic. They weaponize psychiatry. Then they force you to take Compoval, say listen to this one. I'm delusional bipolar with grandiosity complex, Kevin. Let's see. My delusions of collusion between the Catholic Church and the courts. My delusions of collusion between the Catholic Church and the courts. I laughed at, excuse me, Judge, you forgot about the legislature that's brought up by the U.S. Catholic Conference of Bishops. That's enough, Mr. Bonatati.
Right.
You know,
Oh yeah, man. I hear you. Oh, I fought a charge once, a long time ago, and I actually won, and the defendant was like, "You what?" The defendant, the public defender was like, "Yeah, so you could just plead guilty and sign here," and I was like, "Nope," and she was like, "What?" And she was mad because I wouldn't just go along with it, and then the judge was mad because I won, because when they actually they went to go look at the evidence, they were like, "Oh yeah, no, actually this is nope."
So did you have a trial? Did you get to jury selection, and did you have
No,
discovery and all that?
nothing like that. It was just the judge heard the case, but they actually went and looked at the evidence and the prosecutor,
Okay,
because the way I won't go into too many details, but the way I got arrested was like, what? It was a little hinky, and I knew it, and I was like, nope, this is wrong, and so they found exculpatory evidence, and the defender, they just had me come back, and the defender presented the case, and then but even they were all pissed off at me, like everyone, the judge, everybody was just like, "What are you doing? You're just supposed to say sorry, and plead guilty." And I was like, "Yeah, well,
Yeah, how about
stick
that?
it.
How about that discovery? Provide the evidence. The prosecutors in this country are required to disclose exculpatory evidence to the public defender or your attorney, and not withhold it or hide it. They do it all the time. It's par for the
Right.
course.
Right.
And then, I'm like to my public defender, did you file a motion for discovery? Where's the exculpatory? I know it's in my emails. I said to her, show me an email that's harassing in nature. I'm reporting crime. Show me something. Show me a voicemail. Show me a surveillance footage to support this. They never had anything. And then but they didn't want to drop it because I told everybody I'm going to sue the pants off people, which I did. I fought 4 lawsuits. So what they did was they arrested me in the courthouse, filed a subpoena request, and they whisked me into a psych ward.
Wow.
Claiming a delusion that they weaponized the psychiatry. They used what's called Department of Mental Health Addictive Services. The acronym is DEMIS, Department of Mental Health Addictive Services. And basically, you meet with these people and they make a determination and possibly restorable the competency for trial. Put me in the cycle. We never had a trial. I come out, they dropped it. Yeah. It was just like a extortion tactic, like take the plea bargain. I'm like, no, I'm in the psych ward. They're like, well, Mr. Bonatati, we might have to have you involuntarily conserved. Your mind is racing. I said, oh, wait a minute. Where's that in the penal codes?
Right.
Is that the penal codes erasing minds? Remember, what's his name in the movie? I even cited the movie real quick. Matt Damon and Good Will Hunting. I says, Good Will Hunting in the penal codes? I'm like, what are you talking about? My mind's racing. I have a right to complain. It's my First Amendment right, free speech. You know what I mean? How about that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, horrible. Well, hey, man. Hey, William, I got to let you go because I got to end up wrap up the show. But thank you for calling in. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, thanks for listening. But check out Dr. Bregan, Weaponizing Psychiatry. This is a tactic that's used at one point. First they can force you into jail diversion programs and then to a psych court, and you're shaking and scratching your head. They did it with the doctors in Canada who were fighting against the COVID.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I mean, yeah, you just, they're just that's the first, one of the first things they do is call you crazy, call you a quack, call you whatever.
Yeah, because you don't go along with the contemporary narrative. It's like, well, screw that. It's because it's corrupt.
Right.
All right. Thanks for listening.
Right, thanks, man.
for having me on.
All right. Have a good one.
You too.
All right, guys. That about does it for me. Thank you for hanging out. Serenity says restore the Buffalo Commons in the American High Plains. Yeah. Here. Let me check on the coffees before I leave. No coffees as of yet today, but thank you all for the support in the past, current, past, and future supporters. Thank you. And I will see you tomorrow at the regular time of 12 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Thank you so much for hanging out. And until next time, peace.